considering myself a failure as a mom, almost died. I was a hot mess. Immediately what set in for me was depression.
Today, I am so honored to have with me Amy Lacey, who is the founder both of Cauliflower Foods and the brand new Soursop, which we're going to dive into. I cannot wait to share this with you. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is so exciting to be here because you're one of my new favorite people.
You're one of my new favorite people.
I have been watching you for a long time, but getting to meet you all, she is just like she is online. Like, you are really a special person.
Thank you.
Because you are very, very kind and you're beautiful inside and out. And that's rare. Like at the dinner where we were together for a few hours, you were just pure joy. Like, I just wanted to be around you more. And I love that. I love meeting really successful people that are just a joy to be with. And it doesn't matter who was in the room. You were talking to everyone, and I loved it. And your husband too. He was just as genuine and just as nice. And it's hard sometimes. You don't find that in business, especially very successful people. So thank you for being you. More people need to listen to you. You are, one of my favorite things about you. Before we start talking about me, I love watching you with
Amy to the show, and then she's like, "Here, let me talk." I'm like,
I love watching you with the boys.
Oh,
it's a true inspiration. It's so sweet. You're so real. I love it. The boys are just adorable. They're so cute.
They just want to have their own show. They're like, "Mom, are you recording? Because we want to get on camera." I'm like, "Come on. Let's, roll out the sourdough. Let's make the smoothies." Like, they are such little chefs.
Let's make butter. Kudos to you for making butter.
I'm in this new era now where I feel like I came from a place of like fast. I want like the box thing, and I want the super fast meal delivery. And I feel like very recently, like in the past, I don't know, even couple months, I've really tried to be intentional about slowing down and really just, something as simple as like making homemade butter, making sourdough. We went to the farm and we picked our berries and we're making homemade jam. Like, it sounds, so simple, but it's like, I don't want everything to be so fast. Like, I don't want my kids to grow up so fast. So I'm trying to have this effective and efficient, like the systems in the business. But I also, in other parts of my life, I'm trying to just slow down and appreciate like the little things.
I love that. And somebody once told me when I was grinding and going really, really fast to slow down and really savor the moments. Like, pick a child. I have 3.
Yeah.
So pick each one and pick a moment and really focus and concentrate on remembering that moment. So that 10 years from now, you will remember that moment like no other. And I'm so glad somebody told me that. It sounds really silly, but you have to consciously say, okay, I always want to remember this moment. And I want to remember what it smells like. I want to remember what it looks like outside, every little detail, because it's really important, because then you'll remember the moment. And so I have that with each of my kids. And honestly, I can say like the first 2 were 14 months apart. There's a lot I don't remember about each of them, but because somebody told me that, I have like a really sweet memory. And when I feel sad because they're in college or they leave, I go back to that memory, and it's like I'm reliving it. It's so real. And of course I have other memories. There's lots of memories I have. Of course, I remember like serious things that happened and all of that. But these are just sweet little tender moments that didn't mean anything at the time, but I really focused on remembering those. So
I love that. In my book, I dedicated my book to my grandmother, who's 94 right now. And one of the things, she's my best friend. I talk to her
Love that.
Multiple times a week. She had 4 boys. My dad's the oldest of 4. And what she told me is she had a journal and she would write down like silly things, funny things, date them. And she still has that book and she'll be like, your dad said on, 1957. So I do that with the kids, but I write it in my phone and I have like little J quotes or Jordy quotes. And so I love that you're saying that because I think there's so much magic in just slowing down and really like savoring that moment.
I love that you're putting them in your phone too. And I know we got to get to business, but
Yes.
we just went skiing in Tahoe. It's an annual trip that we do. And I know you and Jared are doing quarterly trips with your family, which I think is huge. So we always have this annual trip when we go back to Northern California because that's where we moved to Florida from. So the kids were on the ski team. And so we go back to Tahoe to go skiing. And I was looking through my phone and Grant is my youngest. He's 15. And I have a video of him, like one of the first times we went to Tahoe. We still lived in Northern California at that time. And it was so cute because all my kids had these really high pitched voice. And he's like, and of course I had to ski with him for the day because everybody else is on blue and black and he and I are on these little greens, and we were having lunch together. Everybody else was at the top of the mountain eating, and it was so cute. He and I were having a conversation. I go, what do you think about skiing? And he goes, I'm a speedy demon skier. And it doesn't mean much to anybody, but I watched that this time because they were all on black and they were snowboarding now. And that is well beyond my capability. So I was alone and I was watching these memories.
Oh
and
my
I'm like, I forgot about that day. But then as soon as I saw that video, I remember that day. Like I can tell you what he ate and what I ate that day, and his high little pitched voice and how proud he was of himself.
I love that.
Yeah, those are sweet memories. But
and I think it's important, as we are building businesses and raising families, you have these moments that you can truly treasure and look back and remember, because when you're in the thick of it, I know so many moms, especially the working moms, can relate to this, where you feel like the day goes by so fast.
Yeah.
You're, answering emails or you're on calls or you're with clients or whatever your day looks like. And then you get to the point when you're with your kids. And I hear from a lot of my clients that they're like, I'm so exhausted by the time I get to the end of dinner, and then it's like time to put them to bed, and then the day is gone already. So I want to chat with you a little bit about, as you were building Cauliflower, this was back in 2015.
So I was diagnosed with, talk about considering myself a failure as a mom. Grant was 2. I was diagnosed with lupus. And I had surgery and I wasn't bouncing back. I ended up getting a pulmonary embolism, almost died. I was a hot mess. And that led, when you're a mom, and I had Grant when I was a little older, so I had hit 40. When you're a mom and you can't function as a mom, I don't know if there's any moms out there that have been sick before, just even getting the flu and you feel so inadequate, immediately what set in for me was depression. And I didn't even realize it. I got really depressed. I wasn't able to walk. I remember I was on a scooter. I always worked in my kids' classrooms. So I remember the older 2, because they're 5 and 6 years older than Grant, telling me, Mom, don't work in the classroom, because they were embarrassed that I was on the scooter and couldn't walk. So I really couldn't even function in the classroom. So I wasn't able to do anything. And Grant had to go stay with my in-laws for a few months because I couldn't pick him up. I physically was debilitated. So that's when one day I was like, okay, I'm on Plaquenil, steroids, antidepressants. I had gestational diabetes. I was on Coumadin for the blood clot. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm going to take control of my life and figure this out, because I need to be the mom and I need to be the wife. And at the time I did have a business that I ended up having to sell because of it, a business that I was really passionate about. So that's when I met with somebody. His name is Rob Wolf. He had started the first CrossFit in Chico, California, which is where I was born and raised, left for a short time, but we were living back there because we had kids and I wanted them to be close to family. Anyways, Rob said, do the elimination diet and let's figure out, because food is medicine. And like, you want to get off these drugs, let's change the way you eat.
Right.
And so I did. I went gluten-free, grain-free. And that's how I started playing with cauliflower, because it takes on whatever flavors you put with it.
Yeah.
And that's when I found a Rachel Ray cauliflower pizza crust recipe, started making it at home. I had been juicing. So Caroline, I think at the time she was maybe 10. She's like, Mom, use the juicer with the cauliflower. It'll get out because the pizza crust was falling apart because it had too much moisture in it. So we used the juicer. It came out perfect. And Sandi, I lost 48 pounds. I got off all the medications. I felt stronger than I had ever felt. And I decided, you know what? I need to pay this forward. There's other women out there that are moms that maybe they have type 2 diabetes, or maybe they've been sick. I need to teach them not how to like be in great shape, because, you know, I was in good shape, but I wasn't in great shape. I wasn't like this exercise buff to teach people that, but just to teach people how to do the elimination diet and figure out what was affecting their bodies. And so I did Martha Beck's coaching program. And I want to say kudos to our husbands, Jared and Jim, for supporting us, because a lot of men might find us threatening. And my husband's always been supportive. So when I came home one day, we were laying in bed and I said, Jim, I really want to do Martha Beck's program. I want to become a life coach. I want to help people like I was get out of their own way. And I want to serve the person I once was, which was this sick mom of 3. Yeah. And he said, sure, yeah, do it, go for it. And I said, okay, there's a little catch. It's $33,000. And he's like, okay. So I did the program, and really in a nutshell, she teaches people how to go from like a cocoon and the process of getting out of the cocoon and becoming this beautiful butterfly. And it's quite a process. If you remember, like, science in whatever 4th or 5th grade, going through, you know, the chrysalis and all the hard, ugly stuff to become the beautiful butterfly. Yeah. So I started life coaching and health coaching, and I started having these healthy happy hours, which was on Thursday nights. It was not, you know, we weren't serving alcohol. We were serving healthy smoothies. Lo and behold, did I know that I'd be having a smoothie business so many years later. But I also started serving the cauliflower pizza crust. And several of my clients are like, you need to take this to farmers market. We had a pretty robust farmers market in Northern California. So I thought, what a great way to get the kids involved. Yes. And the kids and I started doing farmers market together. And I had one health coach that also helped me. Her kids were quite a bit older. And yeah, so one of my takes on working moms is so often we don't realize, and this is why I love that you're okay to have the boys on Instagram cooking with you. If we bring them in, and I know it's hard at times, you know, it may make cooking a cauliflower pizza crust a half hour longer than it should. But if you can bring them in and make them feel a part of it, I promise you, years later, you will reap the benefits of that. I watched my daughter, who was a big part of my business early on. She is an entrepreneur, and she is going for it. And she tells me all the time, Mom, you laid the path for me. You really showed me what it's like to be a female entrepreneur and to look for gaps in the industry, white gaps in the industry where you could fill those. And nobody was doing a cauliflower pizza crust. When we launched, there was just a head of cauliflower in the grocery store. And I mean, I could go the whole time about that, but I won't. Basically, what happened was a couple grocery stores picked us up, and then we went viral online. And one of the tips I want to say, if you're in business and you're online, we use this process called story brand. So rather than talking about our product, talking about the cauliflower pizza crust all the time, we talked about our clients who were getting really healthy using the cauliflower pizza crust. And one particular story went viral. In January of 2017, we did more in that month on e-commerce than we had done the entire year before on this one particular story. Turns out The cauliflower pizza crust happens to be low carb and keto, and a lot of doctors were putting their patients on keto. This particular friend of mine had a very severely autistic daughter, and she was put on low carb, started eating our pizza crust, became nonverbal, or was nonverbal, became verbal after 7 months of going low carb, and was able to go back to regular school. And and that story went viral. And the mom, in order for Kenzie to eat, Jessie had to sit with her, and Jessie lost like almost 100 pounds eating low carb.
Oh my gosh.
So those stories went viral, and sky's the limit after that. By 2018, we were an 8-figure business, and there's a lot there. Like, I really had to figure out how to manage a growing business, get a really strong team in. And my kids were there the whole time helping me. James, my oldest, we rented this fulfillment center, and we were packaging, as most startups do, packaging, like I'm doing that now with our influencer boxes for Soursop, but packaging it up ourselves. And he was helping me. I think getting your kids involved gives them a sense of pride. It understands what you're doing. And when you're gone, they understand it. When you're busy, they understand it. So I love, like, just recently, I went and took Caroline to Atlanta with me. We were meeting with a big influencer for Soursop. And I'm like, you need to come to Atlanta with me and check this out. So and she's 19. So she went with me. It was great. I think it's really important, even when they're little. Glandt was, by the time Cauliflower really blew up, he was about 6. And I rented a co-packing facility at this time. I was still making the product myself, but the owner of the co-packing facility, he was fine with letting me bring my kids in. He actually thought it was great. He was like old fashioned. So,
I mean, I think it's so good. I mean, I also come from an entrepreneurial family. I remember when I was little, I would go with my dad, like, aside from like take your daughter to work days, like I would go with him. And at the time, he has his own business now. At the time, he was a manufacturer's rep in like the hobby business. So I would go into like the AC Moores and the Michaels and like stock whatever could be like stamps or whatever it was. And he would put me to work. And I was like, I don't know, 8 maybe. And I loved it. Like, I was like, I want to know the process. I want to meet the people in the store. Like, it was so exciting for me. And I feel like that was also my first real experience, like in the entrepreneurial space, because I saw what my dad was doing. So I think, just like you as a parent, it's so important for our kids to see like what that process is, like what goes into it and what we're doing day to day, because like what I'm doing is just as much a part of like their lives as it is mine. Like he may be off at school for his hours, but when he comes home, it's like, well, what did mom do all day long? It's funny because I remember asking him, he's like, Mom, you stay home with Jordy all day long and you guys are playing. I'm like, actually, I'm in my office and we're not just like riding bikes all day long. When you come home, I'm actually done my work. Like I make that cutoff very clear that by 4:00 when he comes home, sometimes even 3:00, I'm done for the day,
I love that.
So
let me say that is one thing I wish I would have done more. And I didn't set the boundaries I needed to set. When Cauliflower started exploding, and I mean, we literally went from, 2016, we did $126,000 in sales for that year. 2017, we did 5.3 million. 2018, we did 21 million. That shows the growth.
So the story that you mentioned with the mother and the daughter, that was that you're crediting like that's storytelling.
2017, January of 2017, that story went viral, and we did more in January and there's a funny story to that, but I've told it so many times in other podcasts that I'll probably not tell it here because I think there's just so many other things that we could talk about.
Yes.
But that story went viral in January of 2017, and then the business never slowed down, and it just went. And I didn't set the boundaries I needed. And I'll tell you something else too. any successful person has experienced tremendous failure. I mean, it's just
Yes.
inevitable.
Yes.
And John Maxwell just spoke to a group where I was at in Cabo, and he said something that really, it was a little bit triggering for me. He said, you know, when you're really successful, you celebrate, and your family celebrates, and your friends celebrate. But failure is really where you should be celebrating, because failure is your biggest teacher. And if you don't teach your
Yes.
kids that when they fail, it's a good thing, they can learn
Right.
from it, it's not a bad thing to fail,
Yes.
you're really doing them a
We need to hear
disservice.
this more. We need to hear this message more,
Mhm.
because even when I think, the messaging of failure itself, right? Like the word means like
Failure.
something didn't work out and then it's like the end, you
Yeah.
know? So I love that like you're using failure as stepping stones versus like I'm down, I'm out, the game's over.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've talked to my kids multiple times about failure. I said, when I've experienced failure, I've experienced the biggest growth and
Yes.
success. And I would talk about specific things that happened in cauliflower, because when you're growing that fast, you're going to make mistakes that I made, that I thought, oh my gosh, the business is doomed. Like, it's done. One crazy thing I did, was I screwed up the macros on the packaging, and we had $265,000 worth of packaging of messed up macros.
Oh
And
no.
so, I could have blamed the packaging company, but the buck like stopped with me. I was the last person to sign off on it.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote a letter to my community, and I said, I've messed the macros up because somebody pointed it out.
Yeah.
And our sales had tanked because that person was very loud on the internet.
Yeah.
When there are people, as you know, that are very loud on the internet that just want to bring people down. I don't
Yep.
get that. I don't get that at all. I have had competitors where I've felt like things were a mistake. And I'll tell you something about the food industry right after I finish this story, because I think
Yeah.
it's important for moms to know. And I've DM'd them privately. I will never try to humiliate anybody
Right.
online. And I don't get those people. I think that they're just very unhappy people.
I
But
agree.
what I try to teach my kids, going back to failure, because I think it's very important for them to see that when we make mistakes and we consider those failures, and I don't always consider a mistake as a failure, I consider
Mhm.
it as a chance, an opportunity to grow. And that's what I want my kids to see. So we wrote a letter to the community, and our sales quadrupled. We had one of the biggest sales
Wow.
days after that letter hit. I think
Say that again.
people
You had
I think people appreciated. Yeah, we had a $160,000 day the day that letter went out. I
wow.
think people appreciated being honest. And
Yep.
we know now, we hear it all the time. 2024 is about building community and
Yep.
trust. There's so many people out there putting so many products, supplements in particular, out
Mhm.
there, and you don't know if you can trust them. So it's about building
Yes.
community and trust. And we had done that with cauliflower. I could go on about all the mistakes that have been made with cauliflower, but it would take us all day. I think the point I want to make is that I think what John Maxwell said is so true. And I
Mhm.
think that teaching our kids that when you fail, it's actually an opportunity to learn. And yeah, we
Right.
celebrate our successes, but we can celebrate failures too. And I've noticed like a pattern for me when there's three like failures, I'll call them failures, or mistakes, or maybe pivots, all of a sudden, usually something's going to blow up in a good way,
Wow.
in a really
Yes.
positive way. So I feel like they come in threes for me.
Yes.
And
I feel like
so,
that's very common.
yeah, so it gives me hope and it's happened over and over and over for me.
Yeah. It
Um,
almost makes you want to kind of like hit those roadblocks to be like, okay, give me the lesson, let me learn, bring it on,
yeah,
let's go to the next level.
yeah, yeah. And I love that I've been able to show my kids resilience and
Yeah.
teach them that. I talk about the 5 Ps of my business, which is having being passionate about a
Mhm.
product, I'm a product-based business, so it could be coaching too, but having a passion. And I've heard, like, one of my really good friends is like, I don't believe you're successful if you're passionate. I don't believe passion brings success. I'm not going to say who it is, but I will argue with her all day long.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be in the weeds with it. You're
Yeah,
not going to
I
stick
agree.
around when, I talk about, the highs and the lows of the business and being and perseverance, which is another P in my business, and
Yep.
sticking it out. Well, you got to have the passion to have that. Otherwise,
Yes.
what's the point? And then I talk about people. So this is a really good tip for moms.
Write these down.
I think you have to have, and it's nothing like that you have to write down because it's pretty basic, but I think you've got to have the right kind of people around you and make sure that there are people you can delegate to. Because otherwise, and this is a mistake I made early on in Cauliflower, at no fault but my own, because I had amazing people around me, but I didn't know how to let go of control. Like,
oh, amen.
I just felt like, well, if I don't do it, nobody's going to be able to do it. Right. And I had to let that go. And this new business, Soursop Nutrition, I'm so blessed. Everybody that I had from Cauliflower, because, the venture capitalists came in and bought Cauliflower in 2019 and they fired my team. And it was heartbreak. And my kids got to see all of this. And I'm glad they did. I was heartbroken. They put me on sabbatical. They changed my passwords. And there's a whole story to that. And I'm not going to totally blame them. I was fighting them with a lot of decisions they were making. I didn't agree with them. And when you agree to sell off part of your company, but they keep you in, you've got to be able to be a team player and work at what they want to do. And I was like, no, we got to keep the momentum going. But anyways, they let my team go, and that team's back with Soursop. And I was just having a conversation with them yesterday, and I said to two of them, the one that helped me actually build Cauliflower from the ground up, and then another one that was really instrumental in it. They're I call them like kind of my co-CEOs right now. Yep. Or I'm the visionary, they're the implementer operator. And I'm like, girls, just do it. Like, whatever decision you decide, I 100% support you. You don't have to come to me. And they're like, but we did with Cauliflower. And I'm like, I know, but I'm different now. I've learned, I've got to delegate. So
I love that the lesson in that, which is like, I need to let go a little bit in order to let you work in your greatness, because that's why you have them there.
Let go so you can grow. And that's a great parenting lesson too. Let go so they can grow. Let them make the mistakes, because that's how they're going to learn the fastest. Mistakes are going to teach them the fastest. So I'm not the girl that believes everyone should get a trophy person at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I love my children and I find myself trying to protect them. But I had a really good friend, and I'm not going to say any names because in case you listen to it, but she was a helicopter parent. Her kids should always get a trophy along with everyone else. It's the fair, right thing to do. And as adults, our children are now adults. These boys are 21 years old. Yeah. And I'm very proud of my son for all the hard lessons he learned. And he had some hard ones because he had some health issues. He is a great kid. He is a great human. He contributes to society. And I can't say that about my friend's son. He's struggling, and I pray for him all the time, and I hope he does better. But I really think she protected him too much. And then when he got out there, he doesn't know how to function because he was so protected.
I mean, I agree. I think that one of the biggest detriments to society is when you protect your kids too much. And look, of course, you want to do that, especially as a mother. That's part of our DNA. But I remember I read this book when I was pregnant, and it was talking about, it was called Blessings of a Skin Knee. And it was talking about you need to let your kid go out there and fall down, and it's okay because they're going to learn from that. And it's so hard as the parent to step back and let that happen, but it's for the better. It's for the betterment of that child that they do that, because just like you're talking about in business, this is how they're going to learn and grow.
Yeah. So I think it's important though, to be able to delegate to people that you trust. I mean, if you have to give them a little piece of your business because you can't afford to pay them, it's worth it. It's giving you your life. It's giving you that time with your kids. I'm so proud of you that you cut off that time. I wish if I could go back, I would have done that with Cauliflower. I would have cut the time off. But there were some nights where I was working all night and they were on their own for figuring out dinner. And, you know, I talk about this a lot in other podcasts. I talk about the family I had growing up, which my mom was a single mom. There was a lot of struggle. And for a while, I didn't live with my mom. You know, it's a long story, but I actually lived on the street for a little while. I had watched my dad self-destruct with alcohol and drugs. So I never got into alcohol and drugs. And I really don't drink now. And I feel, I like the way I feel without drinking. But my point is that I'm really honest about the mistakes and my childhood and the things that happened with my kids too.
Sure.
Like I don't paint. I see parents painting this pretty picture because they want their kids to, I don't know, feel safe, feel great about them. No, I'm really honest about what I've done and what I've been through. And I want the kids to know the resilience there. But I also want to teach them about forgiveness. Like when I became a parent, I struggled with forgiving my mom for a lot of things because I had taken all these parenting classes, Love and Logic, read all these books. I'm like, you know, I was the kid that didn't really have a stable environment and a stable parent. And I want to make sure that I have this great family. Like God has gifted me this great family. So I've taught my kids a lot about forgiveness because I think forgiveness is a choice. And there is a lot of healing that goes when you have that kind of pain. And that's a process. And so I'm teaching my kids that all along. Like, people are going, like I had somebody that embezzled from me from Cauliflower and they saw the pain there and they saw the forgiveness and then the healing. So I think that's also important. You know, we need to teach our kids, we need to be the example and show them. So I often talk, the reason why I bring this up too is because I just was on a podcast talking about forgiveness. And
I saw that. I saw it.
And when you become a parent, isn't it funny how you start seeing all of the, well, wait a minute, my mom never did that with me. Oh, wait a minute. You're supposed to
there's a whole slew of things. It's so funny because I was actually out yesterday with one of the girls that was at the dinner with us. We met for brunch. And I said, you know, when you become a parent, it's so funny, like the things that come up that you experience and you have a choice. You can either go down that same path or you can rewire and rewrite the things that you wish you would have had done differently to you.
Yeah. And that's what I've done. Like I just, you know, I make sure, for example, I never, since food, and I want to tell you the one thing about the food industry too. I'm squirreling all over. There's so much I want to talk about.
So many good. This is like this information. It's truly something that like you have lived through, and this is why it's so important for all these mamas, especially me. Like my babies are little; they're 3 and 6. I love like getting this wealth of knowledge and information, especially like you, Amy, someone who has gone through this and learned the lessons. Because look, this is also how we get to figure out like, how do I want to take this approach or what do I want to do? You know what I mean? So thank you for sharing this because it's such a wealth of knowledge. And just by you being on here and sharing with you know, the community and all these other mamas that are on here, you are just helping so many of us navigate business and life and babies and all the things. So thank you.
Well, I do feel like I've been through a lot. So one of the things that growing up, my mom used to leave a box of cereal on the counter and I would get up in the morning and get myself ready for school and eat the cereal and then walk to the bus stop. My mom never got up because she would work all day and I don't know, her day started later. And I remember when I had gestational diabetes, I met with a dietitian because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to inject shots into my belly where my baby is. This is not good. So I remember her telling me, if you're feeding your kids cereal in the morning, it's like giving them a candy bar. And it really affected me. And I'm like, I am always going to get up. I'm always going to be present in the morning. And I actually get up an hour before they do so I can have my quiet time because then I'm like a better mom. Yeah, I have my coffee and I have my quiet time.
I
And
feel like we
then,
have very similar mornings. It sounds like our
yeah,
mornings are very identical.
and I always make a hot breakfast. They
Yep.
always go out the door with a hot breakfast. And it's a bit of
Yep.
a struggle for my youngest because he's like me. I don't like to eat in the morning. I'm a faster. I do
Okay.
intermittent fasting. I don't eat until noon. And he's like, Mom, and I'm like, look, I'm going to make it for you. I'm not
Yeah.
going to force you to eat it. That's another
Right.
thing. I don't force my kids
Yep.
to eat.
Same.
I want them to try it. I've learned the hard way with my oldest. When you force them to eat something, you're
Yes.
doomed. Like I would
Yes.
force him to eat fruit and vegetables. And the other two, I never did that because
You're
I
like, here, just
learned.
have a shake.
Yeah, and they eat whatever they want. But I always do a hot breakfast because I never had that growing up. And I
Yep.
think it's so important for them to
Yep.
start their day off like that. But what is the message? The message is, hey, I care about you. I'm here. I'm up. I'm making you something. Yeah, you may eat one bite of it. It's a bummer. I might put it away for later or something.
Yeah.
I hate wasting food, but at least I'm up, I'm present, I'm talking to you. I'm making you something healthy because I genuinely care about you. And I don't
Yeah.
care what my work day looks like. I'm going to have that standard set for you. The other thing I want to say, and I meant to look it up before this because I'm like, I really want to talk about this. I think it's really important to eat dinner as many times as you possibly can as a family. There's studies
Mhm.
out there that show that successful kids become successful adults when they've had time to sit down and eat as a family. So
Right.
when all three kids were at home, they all three played different sports. And it was like, okay, we might eat at 8 o'clock, we might eat at 5 o'clock, depending on practice, but we're
Right.
going to sit down and we're going to eat as a family. And when I
That's so
was
good.
traveling, I was encouraging my husband, like, I don't care if you pick up food or,
Right.
we would do those delivery meals. So it would make it
Yep.
easier on him. But please try and sit down together and like, what's the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day?
Yes.
That kind of thing. Get them to talk. You can't just say, how was your day? Because they're going to be like, fine.
Right.
How
Right.
was your test?
We bought
Good.
these cards. And so
Yes.
for us, every Friday we do family date night is what we call it. But for us, we don't always get like a family dinner at night just because of Jared's schedule.
Mhm.
Sometimes he's traveling or working late or whatever. Plus we get the boys ready for bed at like 6 o'clock. Like they eat at 5:30 and then like, shower time is 6. So what we do is family breakfast. And family breakfast is we have these cards and like we were just doing them this morning and there's like, I don't know, 100 of them. And, we'll pick it and it'll be like, if you could change the color of snow, like what color, like silly ones like that. And
I
then there's
love
other
it.
ones that would be like, if you if you were the principal for the day in your school, like what rule would you make? And you kind of like get into their world
I
and see
love
like
that.
what's going on. And then, or like if you were the parent for the day, like what would you do? Or like if you had a yes day. So, just like tapping into their world to see what's
Mhm.
going on through these questions. And then all of us like connecting through that together.
I absolutely love that. Now, did you create the cards or did you buy them from
So
someone?
we bought them and we have different cards too. Like we have different cards from different brands, companies. So they're all just like a mix of like
I,
any kinds of questions.
I absolutely love that. I wish I knew. I wish I would have done that. I love that. We always had Friday family fun night as,
Yeah.
as much as we possibly could, which was usually pizza. That's why the cauliflower pizza came about because I was like, I
Yes.
want to eat with them. It was pizza and board games
Yep.
or a movie. And we still, as
Love
a
it.
family, play board games all the time together.
That's
Um,
that's one of our favorites. We'll do like Jordy's very good at Jenga because he's got like little tiny fingers. So he always beats us in Jenga. But this is going back to like what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, which is like slowing down and
yes.
just enjoying the things that matter, right? Like
Yes.
even if it's like in our situation, we can't do a family dinner night every night, but we can do a family breakfast. Like do what you can do. And it doesn't have to always be like for us, maybe Jordy's sleeping in that breakfast. So it's just the 3 of us. And then other times it's the 4 of us. But like,
Yeah.
I think making it something that's doable, you know, even if we get 20 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes before school starts, we got to run out
I
the
love it.
door. Like that's still our connection time, you know, whether it's
I love
dinner or
it.
breakfast. I think that it's really important. The message here of like, just slow down
Yes.
and be present, because it's so easy to be in like,
Mhm.
hurry up, go, 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 fast, 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 more, 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 when it's just like, just slow down for a minute and enjoy literally what's right in front of you.
And I know Jared talked at dinner and he said this is the year where he's grinding, like
Yes.
their business is growing faster than
Yep.
ever. And I remember and we're starting to grow really fast with
Yep.
Soursop, but it's so easy for me because I love what I do. I love
Yeah.
creating products that are healthy for people. I love changing the world and creating categories. But I swear your business grows faster when you prioritize paying it forward with your family or
Yes.
others. Like,
Yep.
and paying it forward is one of my P's. Like, if you can slow down and really remember what's number one for you. And for
Yep.
me, it's God and family and then business.
Yeah.
If I can keep that in that order, my business blows up. It's the
Yep.
minute I lose that order, and I did it with Cauliflower, the minute I
Mhm.
would lose that order and the business was number one, things started to crumble. And
Yeah.
it's hard because you are going to have years where it's like a grinding year where you got to go
Right.
all in. But I still think it's really important. That's why I admire that you guys are going to take those quarterly vacations.
Yep.
And hopefully, I look back on trips and I remember I didn't go scuba diving because I was on a call. Like, we brought in
Right.
pasta from Italy, and the time difference. I remember being in Hawaii and everybody was doing things, but I was on those calls with
Yeah.
the Italians. And I regret that now. And our
Mhm.
business, it literally, when I would set those boundaries, would blow up. So I can't stress
That's a
that
huge
enough.
lesson right there, you know, like set the
Yeah.
boundaries and stay true to them. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you are going to be the only one that's looking back. Like you remember that memory, like everybody else was, you know, making pasta or scuba diving and you
Yeah.
were on the phone call. But it's
Yeah.
like being true to yourself and
Yeah.
saying like, these are my boundaries. This is what I've set. You've done it for a reason. So just honoring that and showing up fully.
Yeah. And
That's
the
so
kids
good.
remember, they remember I didn't go scuba diving. They saw some sharks. They're like, remember that time where we saw those sharks, mom, and you
Oh,
weren't there? You were on the call. They
you're
don't
like,
ever
thanks.
talk. They don't, I know. They don't ever even, I mean, they love the pasta, but they don't. And that was one of that was one of the problems I had with the venture capitalists is they cut that product. They
Yeah.
don't even remember that product. They just
Yeah.
remember the fact that I didn't go scuba diving with
Right.
them. And in the long
Right.
run, that product wasn't sustainable. And so missing that time with them wasn't even worth it in the long run. But
Yeah.
it's hard when your
It's a
business is
lesson. It's a
growing.
lesson.
It's a lesson. And when your business is
Yep.
growing and you're rocking and rolling, you want to keep that momentum going. It's
Right.
important. Momentum is very important.
Right. One
But
thing I love that, again, coming from an entrepreneurial family, that I heard my grandfather always say was everything's cyclical, right? So
yes,
it's like when it's
yes,
when you're in the thick of it and it's hard, it's like just know it's going to go back up. And when things are great and
yes,
they're going and they're grinding, just know that like there's going to be another swing coming. So like,
yep.
you know, it's constantly this, you know, cycle of life and business, and you just have to be present where you are.
I love that. I think it's so cool that you have your grandparents because
Yes.
childhood memories, the good ones that I have are with my grandparents or
Yeah.
with my grandma, not
Yes. And
grandparents,
it's
but
so
grandparents.
special. It's such a different relationship
Yeah.
than your parents can be.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like I spent so much time with my grandparents. We had a shore house we'd go to, and like all of my best memories, not all of them, but a lot of them are
Yeah.
there, like with my cousins and my brothers. Like it's just, you
Yeah.
know, we're a big family. So that was like such a special time, but like all with my grandparents.
Yeah. So my grandmother, so this leads into the one thing I keep saying I want to say about the food industry. My grandmother always had a garden. So she taught me how to garden. She taught me how to can. And
Ooh.
I do not can and I don't normally garden. But when the kids were little, we built these garden plots and they each had their own and they grew what they wanted to grow. And then I taught
Yeah.
them how to can too. And the reason why is that year I learned, and it was it was during cauliflower. I learned the food industry has a 20%, you can look it up, a
Oh, you
20%.
told me about this.
Yes, you can have a 20% variance on your labels. So all of us
Oh,
food manufacturers, if we wanted to put 20% more bad oil or sugar in our product,
this
we
is
could,
insane.
yeah, 20% variance either way, swing direction. So what I learned in the food industry, and we never did this with cauliflower, we always tried to stay very authentic, very true
Mhm.
to the original recipe and why we created it. The same with soursop. I mean, it's
Yep.
just the most amazing fruit. You don't even need to put anything with it. Anyways, yeah, there are brands out there that
Oh,
definitely lean into that so that they can look
that blows
20%.
my
Yes.
mind.
So they can look 20% better than they actually are. And a lot of them are doing that. So I used to preach all the time, read your labels, read your
Yes.
labels. Well, and that is not, that's just in the United States. That's the FDA in the United States. And you can look that up.
That's
That's well
wild to
known.
me, which
So
is even more reason, stick with brands that you can trust and also like slow down and make your own food.
exactly. Like I was so proud of you for making butter. But when the kids had their gardens, that was one way I got to get my really picky eater to try new things because he grew it. Like he grew
Yeah.
all this corn. And I'm like, okay, well, you should try corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Because he just was very picky, and green beans, and he would try green beans. So, we lived in a house that wasn't conducive to really having the garden plots, but we made them
Yeah.
anyways, and it was a blessing. So that's kind of a fun
Amazing.
thing that you can do with your kids.
Yes, we just bought a bunch of like planters
Yeah.
and we got peppers, tomatoes, and then Jared went to the store and got a whole bunch of other seeds that we're going to end up planting. But, it's fun for the kids to have their own little project to do too.
One warning though, if you are going to do this
Oh
with your
boy.
kids, don't plant pumpkins. We planted
Okay.
pumpkins so we could have them for Halloween, and it took over the whole yard, and it took over
Okay, good. I'm
like
glad I didn't get those because we were about to get them and the guy was like, "You need to have a lot of space." We're like, "No, we don't."
pumpkins will take over everything. And then you're like, yeah, you
Wow.
got these cute little pumpkins, but your garden is like destroyed and your
Just right.
yard has pumpkin vines everywhere.
Okay, so no pumpkins.
No
Well,
pumpkins.
let me say this. Transitioning into pumpkins, I want to just obviously we see I gotta go this way. Here we go. If you can see behind me, let me move
There's my
here we go.
pumpkin here. Are we going to
Yes,
talk about
there we
pumpkins?
go.
So,
So
yeah,
I have made, and I actually have my smoothie right here. This is actually a chocolate. This isn't the pumpkin, but
chocolate's
I
my
want
favorite.
to dive into soursop because,
Yeah.
by the way, all of us had our soursop gummies this morning, and my kids want to eat them like candy. They're so
Yeah,
good. I'm like, you guys, too.
they're really good for you. And actually, I wish the serving size was 4 because, I mean, when we were in the testing phase, and I've been working with Soursop for a few years, when Cauliflower put me on sabbatical, I couldn't sit still, and it was COVID. And I was like, okay, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So was a good friend of mine. So I started researching different like holistic remedies, and soursop came up. I am not promoting soursop for cancer. FYI, I'm going to make that very clear. You can Google it and see how it benefits or not. But what I've seen in it is, and I think it's because of the cell rejuvenation, and it's just loaded with vitamin C. Like it's going to build your immune system more than anything else out there. And there's airborne and things out there. This is so good for your immune system, but it's been so good for my skin. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to launch a skincare line, and I've been practicing.
Ooh.
I have no Botox, no fillers. And I'm 53, and I feel like it's making my skin look really good. Like, and I was a
Wow.
tanning bed queen. So
Yeah.
when that's coming out later this year, the skincare, but I also think it's because I'm drinking the shakes. Now we
Yep.
have pumpkin and apple because originally we were launching in the fall, and I'm such a pumpkin sucker. And
Well,
unfortunately, because of certain circumstances, it's now just being launched and the fall's gone. But look on our website, I call these boosts. I don't even think they're necessarily shakes, even though they say shakes. Like I'm
yeah.
using them to make pumpkin muffins. I've
Yes.
made pumpkin pancakes with them. And we're putting all those recipes online. We just put a pumpkin soup. And basically this is
Oh,
boosting it and making it extremely healthy, because there's other things in it like turmeric and goji berries.
which
There's
is
all these
so good for you.
superfoods in it. And then we've added B12 and C. I mean, Soursop has C, but it also has
Yeah.
Irish sea moss in it. So,
Wow.
and it's no added sugars, but it really boosts things. My favorite thing lately to do, and I posted it just randomly on my Instagram, but I've been doing a half avocado, a banana, a scoop of this,
Yeah.
and then any kind of milk you like, almond milk, oat
So
milk, or
that's
water.
the recipe that I just did.
It's
And
so
it was
yummy.
so good, and it's creamy, and
Yeah.
it's delicious.
I think the avocado, the half avocado, helps make it creamy. And then
Yes.
the banana gives it a little bit more of a sweetness. But the amount of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants in this is so good for you. It's so good.
That's
And there
amazing.
we have a hot chocolate recipe for it too.
Ooh, I did see that on Instagram. I saw
Yeah,
that you guys posted
it's
that, and I was like, that looks amazing, especially for
it's
right now. It's cold pretty much everywhere.
yeah, it's delicious. But the apple, I was just heating up hot water and drinking it like apple cider. It was good too. And then we have a
Ooh.
apple bark recipe and a
Oh,
couple different
yum.
things for
So you
apples.
guys are
Somebody,
definitely going to come out with like a recipe book.
I should. I have a cauliflower one. I
I know, but
should.
now we need the soursop recipe book.
Yeah, I should. Well, soursop, most people haven't heard of it. It's a fruit grown in the Caribbean. We went to an island off of Africa, Seychelles. It's grown there. It's grown in Mexico in some areas. It's even grown in Hawaii, actually.
Wow.
And to get it in the United States, you can get it through a vendor in Florida. It's like $30 a piece of fruit. It's the
Crazy.
ugliest fruit. It's so ugly. Just like cauliflower is so ugly and nobody ever ate it. It was like the last veggie standing in a veggie tray.
That's
Nobody
so
liked
funny.
cauliflower before it became popular. I think soursop is our next new superfood.
Right.
It's so full of antioxidants. It's crazy that we aren't promoting it more in the United States with all of the benefits.
Yeah.
It's being studied all over the world, in the UK and different
Wow.
places. We just entered in, I just spent a couple $100,000 because I think it's so important. This is how I'm going to differentiate myself from all the other people out there putting supplements, is we're doing a double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial with soursop. We're doing it with the shakes and the gummies. So we're doing two. We have more products coming that we'll do more studies with, but I think it's really important because I want to show that we're not just randomly whipping out a supplement. I've been working on this for 3 years. I wasn't able to put it out there when I wanted to because of, my commitment with cauliflower and so forth. So I kind of put it on the back burner, but it's done wonders for my family. So in the clinical trial, we're testing blood sugar levels, inflammation levels, gut health, because we know it helps. We have a sleep version. We are just, it's when you have gut health, you sleep better. And the sleep is coming out, and it's more of just getting you back on your regular sleep rhythm. It doesn't have melatonin or anything like that. It's very, very natural. So if you take the gummies, you're gonna feel more energetic. You're gonna have cell rejuvenation. It's just it's yummy. They're so good.
Yeah, it's first of all, they taste amazing. Like literally, I'm not even. I'm gonna get my kids eating them tomorrow because they already had theirs for today. But they're like, "Mom, we want more." They think it's candy.
Yeah, you gotta hype them.
I do. I have to put them all at the top shelf and hide them so they can't get them. They're like, we want more, we want more. I'm like, tomorrow you can have 2 more. But they not only do they taste amazing, but the benefits that they have, the cell immunity, just like and again, it's something that like a lot of times you'll take vitamins and you're just like, okay, I'm going to take my vitamins and I take them for the day. Like this is such a boost for anything. Like you were mentioning, like, you can put it in your food. You can put it in your smoothies and your pancakes and your muffins. Like what a great addition to like the things that you're already making.
Yeah. And the new gummies that are coming out are going to be completely natural. Will have no sugar alcohols. These have a little tiny bit, but the new ones we've reformulated do not. And we're going to have both. It's not like I'm going to eliminate these. We're going to have both. It's just for those people that might be a little more sensitive, because it does help with gut health. I'm very sensitive to sugar alcohols and I don't like them, and I eat these all the time. And I eat 4 a day instead of 2, which is the recommended dose, but I like 4. So, and the shakes are just, they're loaded with all the things I kept trying to buy and put in a shake to have a super food
Right.
shake. And it's all just here. And like you said, we can just put it in your soup or make muffins. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I am one of those people, and I've tried every one. And if anybody knows of one that they can DM me to try, but I do not like shake mix with water and ice. And in the
Yeah.
shaker cup,
It's too
I
like, it's,
can't,
yeah.
I haven't been able to find one I like. I just don't like to drink them that way.
Yeah.
So I've been using these as a boost to the food because our food industry is lacking. And what I consider this to be is the bridge between our food industry and Western medicine. And,
Nice.
I'm married to Western medicine. My husband is Western medicine. I know how much time they had to learn about nutrition,
Right.
which is very little.
Right. Yeah.
And I know how much time the hospitals are putting on the doctors to treat their patients very quick. So
Yeah.
the easiest
Or
thing
to
to
push
do,
a certain, drug because it's a
yeah,
quick fix
the
rather than
easiest thing
actual.
is
Yeah.
to do a prescription. They don't have time for
Right.
education.
Which,
So if you can find people that have been sick before and have found ways that have worked for them or their family members, why not try them? And that's who
right.
I am, and this has helped me more than anything.
So
And I
good.
learned something about cauliflower, like taste, consistency, taste, um, ease of use are so important.
Yes.
So the gummies make it so easy to get
I
it.
love it. I love it. And they're so good. So Amy, where can everybody find you, Soursop? Where can they go snag a couple boosts, some gummies?
So it's on our website, soursopnutrition.com. We are just getting ready to launch our affiliate and influencer program, and we are looking for stay-at-home moms or moms that are just starting a business for the affiliate program. We are going to make it one of the strongest affiliate programs out there. Like I'm not about making a bunch of money. I'm about paying it forward and allowing other people to build their businesses. It's not an MLM or anything like that. It's, although that's another story. I have done MLMs before. I'm not against MLMs, but it's an affiliate program that we are creating. It's going to be really strong. We want this to get out, and we believe that, we had a pretty good affiliate program with Cauliflower, and some moms were making six figures selling pizza crusts. And I think this is way more powerful. So we'll have that. And we have these cute boxes and cute little candles and all kinds of things that we're sending to our VIPs. So if people want to sign up to be a VIP or an affiliate, they're going to get all kinds of swag too, because I love gift giving is my love language. So I love to give gifts.
I love that. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being on today. Your wealth of wisdom and knowledge. I mean, we got it all. We got the business, we got the family, the motherhood. So guys, make sure to go follow Amy and also Soursop. And just one more time, it is the website is soursopnutrition.com. So head over there and check it out.
And one thing I want to say is if you follow me on Hey Amy Lacey on Instagram, I am managing my own Instagram. So if you DM me, I will be the one responding. And I'm happy we're doing a free sample campaign where we're giving these out for free shipping, because we want everyone to taste them. So email me.
Wow.
If you're a cauliflower person and you're missing the cauliflower foods crust, I'm sending my cookbook out to people. They can make it on their own. So yeah, if you DM me, I'll be happy to do that for you. Send that out to you.
Amazing.
For your audience.
Listen to this episode. Make sure you tag myself, tag Amy, and then you're going to get to try a little sample of the Soursop. You guys, it's so good. It's going to boost everyone's, especially now everybody's getting sick. Like, you guys need these in your life.
You won't get sick. I promise you.
Yes.
You won't get sick if you eat these every day.
So good. So good. All right, Amy, thank you so much for being here on the Slay Your Day podcast. And as always, make sure you go out and slay your day.